Welcome back. The island's Archbishop is calling for peace in the wake of the worldwide tension that has been ongoing since the death of George Floyd in May. Archbishop Robert Rivas says a special type of peace is needed now more than ever, and that the church has zero tolerance for the racial injustice that sparked off the entire situation.
In the wake of the death of George Floyd and the uprisings that accompanied that, with persons all over the world agitating for protections of Black under the Black Lives Matter campaign, Archbishop Robert Rivas has indicated that for people to move on from such ills, there must be justice and peace will follow.
Peace is not just something that you just have and it seems to settle everything. Peace comes at a price. For instance, there will be no peace without justice. So, like if the world is in a situation of conflict, if the world is battling with racial discrimination, if the world is battling with inequalities, if you have people starving and dying around you and your eyes are closed, or I should say our eyes are closed, then we can't talk peace because we are not ready for peace.
Archbishop Rivas says all aspects of human life need to be touched and there needs to be solidarity from all races. He asserted that the church will not stand or tolerate any social injustices.
The church's position on this would be very clear. No discrimination. The Pope said there's no tolerance. There should be no tolerance in the world for racism. Okay? And I have seen a bishop, the Bishop of El Paso, a Catholic bishop, with something like 15 of his priests, kneeling for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. The time it took for George Floyd to die, okay, holding placards, and the bishop was holding the placard, Black Lives Matter, and there was silence, or the placard was in front of him. I have done the same here.
He says, coming out of the Black Lives Matter movement, people will be reminded that all forms of human life are important and sacred, regardless of status or race. According to the Archbishop, this movement is calling for people of other races to help fight for the lives of those who are being demeaned on a daily basis. He says he is hopeful that such movements impact not only legislation but the mentality of people all over the world, but particularly in places where racial discrimination are prevalent. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Genevieve Onwa.
Countries like Barbados and St. Kitts have rolled out their COVID-19 economic stabilization programs. It left many St. Lucians questioning why St. Lucia was lagging behind. On Monday, it was announced that St. Lucia's economic and recovery plan is ready to be implemented. In a recent appearance on Hot 7 TV's Hot Seat, the executive director of the Chamber of Commerce gave his views on what direction the administration should take on this matter.
Executive Director of the Chamber of Commerce, Brian Louisi, says a comprehensive economic stabilization project is needed. He stated that the government has many details to consider when putting together an economic stabilization package.
I think every country has its own circumstance, and I think the devil is actually in the detail. And so what sometimes looks to be adequate and attractive may not necessarily have the necessary impact. But I do accept and think that there needs to be, and it would be good if certain things are done. I believe that, and I'm aware that the government has appointed and has a multi-sectoral task force looking at economic recovery. And I suspect in the economic recovery, there are some stimulus, things that they hope will stimulate activity, business activity. There are different, 5 different pillars working on it. And I think in the next couple of weeks, something will be produced that will be taken before the cabinet.
He also addressed the burning issue of the continuation of capital projects during such a time. He explained that the issue with capital projects being continued by the government may have merit when it is done in an investment that the country will be able to reap benefits from in the future.
I think what is most important is that we invest in transformational infrastructure. We invest in infrastructure and capital projects that will, in the long run, increase our capacity to pay and to grow the economy. So that has to be the critical issue. I do not believe that I have seen in recent times an assessment of what is the incremental capital output ratio, meaning what kind of economic activity and economic growth we can expect to see from a spend in capital investment. You know, that is something I haven't seen. So I'm not sure if we're getting the best bang for the buck.
He indicated that in such a time, all ideas, projects, and investments need to be put back on the table in order to gauge and ensure that the most economically sound and feasible investments are made on behalf of the country.
I certainly think that everything should be on the table and revisited. And I believe, as we were talking about earlier, you know, there are pros and cons. There are 200 economists, and people will argue based on their persuasion. The fact of the matter is that things are not always economics. There's political economics. And that we have to understand and appreciate will always generate debate, discussion, and difference of opinion. I think essentially what the Chamber would like to ensure and would like to see is that our investments are made smart, that they are transformational, and that they lead to the greatest impact currently and in the future. And that I think is the metrics we will stand by. And when we get into further discussions, our members may be more explicit.
The executive director says a comprehensive and holistic look needs to be taken by the government to ensure that all projects and investments produce great amounts of returns to aid the country in the short and long term. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Genevieve Gonga.
As St. Lucia undertakes the phased reopening of the economy, various agencies and statutory bodies are putting measures in place to guide operations moving forward. One of the sectors hard hit by the COVID-19 pandemic is that of the creative industries. The organization charged with overseeing and executing festivals and events here on St. Lucia has had some changes to its board. Events company St. Lucia and its new chairman and members met recently to begin the groundwork. The new chairman says there has to be open dialogue about the island's calendar of events under the Summer Festival's banner. More in this report.
The events company St. Lucia board held its first meeting for the year 2020 to discuss multiple matters relating to the organization of events in St. Lucia going forward. The organization was created in 2017 with a mandate to coordinate and execute the production of national events and festivals, including the St. Lucia Summer Festival. The board, which consists of both public and private sector agencies, will be appointed for a period of 3 years and will be led by the newly appointed chairman, Daniel Belize.
This is an opportunity for Events St. Lucia because we have no other events, perhaps until October when we're looking at having Creole Heritage Month, to sit down and really strategize and plan for next year. This is a perfect opportunity for us to look at all our events, and if I may, look to see whether or not we should continue having jazz in May. I'm not saying that we shouldn't, I'm just saying that we should have that discussion. Do we change it to a different month? Do we put Roots and Soul in May? Do we have another event, another festival? So this is an opportunity for us to sit down, get familiar with us, with ourselves, understand the policies coming from central government so that we can then take those policies and drive our summer festival.
Senator Honorable Fortuna Belrose reaffirmed the government's commitment to ensuring the success of events in St. Lucia.
Of course, as you know, Events St. Lucia, the government of St. Lucia, when it took office in 2016, created this organization called Events St. Lucia to assist us in the delivery and production of events in St. Lucia. And of course, today the organization has done a tremendous amount of work. We are now in a new environment. We have reviewed our programming. And so we are now awaiting a final report from Events in Lucia with respect to the programming, for the next 3 years for St. Lucia. The government of St. Lucia is extremely committed to the events calendar and, of course, keeping our people engaged, providing opportunities through the creative sector, and, of course, building on the orange economy for our country. And so it was important for us to ensure that we have the right team of persons working, in that area to ensure that our events continue to grow and flourish in a way that our citizens would be happy and proud of the various events that are being put on.
The meeting took place at the Ministry of Tourism on Wednesday, June 18, 2020. From the Government Information Service, I am Anicia Antoine reporting.
Stay with us. Sports and weather are coming up after the break.